The Football Show
on Off the Ball.
With Sky. Watch Premier League, Women's Super League, EFL, Scottish Premiership and much more. Live on Sky Sports.
I'm prepared to do anything I can to play for my country again.
Do it then.
What about your start to the game?
It wasn't bad, was it?
Why should an honest answer be a mistake?
How can a modern day manager not have a mobile phone?
Why should he?
Welcome along. This is the Football Show. Spurs have just equalised against Chelsea, so 1-1 on the night, still 3-1 Chelsea on aggregate. Looks like it's Harry Kane based on the camera fixated on Harry Kane as he waits for a tip-off to happen again. Chelsea gave the ball away just on the edge of their own penalty area, really, and Mora gave it to Harry Kane, who may have been offside, actually. May have been offside, but he finished very well, and VAR is looking at it, so that may well be disallowed. Either way, Chelsea are either 3-1 up or 3-0 up on aggregate, so that's where we are in that game. That's in the League Cup. That goal has been ruled out. In the Premier League this evening, West Ham against Norwich. Adam Idah started for Norwich, so a rare start for him against West Ham. Jared Bowen with the only goal of the game thus far. That was in the first half. So still West Ham 1, Norwich 0, 65 minutes on the clock. Over in Saudi Arabia, I was about to say Spain. Over in Saudi Arabia, the El Clasico Super Cup is on, and in extra time, Real Madrid lead Barcelona by 3-2 is where we are in the Super Cup over in Spain. Seems like a really good game there. Barcelona have come back twice, but Real Madrid have scored a third now. So they're 3-2 up against Barcelona. Meanwhile, in the San Siro, Inter and Juventus are 1-1 in the Super Cup there. So Super Cup evening in La Liga and in Serie A. We are very happy to say Mr. Mark Lawrenson is on the line. Good evening.
Hi, Joe.
A few things to chat to you about. I suppose in broad terms it's been maybe a month since we've had a chat on this show, and suddenly, you know, as quick as we blink, our what we thought was going to be our 3-horse race has become Man City 10 points clear of Chelsea, same number of games played, 11 points clear of Liverpool. Liverpool do have a game in hand, but 11 points nonetheless, and it kind of feels like City are on course for 90-something points, and the rest will be trailing in their wake, which is never a great place to be in the January of a title race.
No, and I think probably both Chelsea and Liverpool aren't thinking of doing many deals, if any deals, in the January transfer window as well. So they've probably not got reinforcements coming in or anything. But I think City have just been outstanding. I think privately, Klopp knows, and also Tuchel knows that they're not going to catch City. But they're obviously playing for second and third. But even then, I think both the second and third, there'll be a lot of points clearer than the fourth place team. And City have just been outstanding, haven't they? And he's going to do it again, Pep. The only thing, maybe, and it's a big maybe in inverted commas, is Champions League. If they start to go a long way, lose a few players, I'm hoping here, Anna. Basically, I'm not very convincing. Yeah. No, I think they'll win the league by many, many points. To be honest with you, I think it's a foregone conclusion now. What's it like as a pro, as a professional, when you're playing league games week in, week out, and really at the back of your mind and everyone's minds, the placings have kind of been decided? Like there's a real going through the motions vibe. Is that difficult? Joe, to be honest with you, we were always being chased. I mean. So I couldn't really answer it because we were always in that Liverpool team. We were always in that position where we were being chased. And I tell you what you do, and players always do it now. Is the first thing you do, you come in the dressing room after your match, hopefully that you win it. And how did Liverpool go on? Oh, they won. Oh, crikey! So you're just looking to pick up any advantage, but. It's very, very difficult for the chasing pack if the team at the top not only is a very, very good team, but consistently just wins games and wins games not playing bad. And sometimes you come in and go, Liverpool scored in the 93rd minute and won 1-0. And you think, oh, not again. But I caught from the end of the programme just before there, and I don't know which lady it was who said it about. We go again, and I thought it was a great comment, which was like she absolutely hated it, and that's the kind of same thing probably all those years ago, but it wasn't quite into the media at that time. Yeah, Ruisha Littlejohn plays for Ireland, and
Aston Villa, and a proper character, I think, as well.
Well, I could tell. I was fascinated listening to her, but just, when she said it, I was laughing. We go again. Some of this, it's like frightening, isn't it? We go again. What on earth is that?
I know. It's like they're trying to be more bland with each passing year, somehow managing to do it, which is the extraordinary thing. And even when you were being chased, which is a nice spot to be, and I guess the place Man City are in, but even being chased when you knew realistically, even if you didn't say publicly, but say you knew January, February, well, got the league wrapped up again, was it a little bit meh the following 2, 3, 4 months? Was there not even then a sense of lethargy or going through the motions?
Well, it would depend, because you might be going for the FA Cup, and obviously also, on occasions for the European Cup as well. And the way that Liverpool were set up, the likes of Ronnie Moran and Joe Fagan would go absolutely bananas at you if they thought you were just going out and going through the motions. And the other thing, I think at Liverpool, we probably had 17 or 18 players for obviously 11 places. So you always really did feel that you're under pressure all the time, and a couple of iffy performances and you could be left out and you might not get back in the team for a few months. So there was still that pressure there, most definitely. The one I enjoyed the most was the first season, because on Boxing Day, so this was 1981-82, on Boxing Day we played Man City at home. People won't remember, but Liverpool's pitch was a bog. It was hopeless. We got beat 3-1. Brucey didn't have the best of games, shall we say. And we came in, so we were 14th in the league. Boxing Day night, Joe Fagan came in and went absolutely ballistic at all of us. I'd never heard it before. I'd only been there, 4 or 5 months. And even the look on some of the other players, they hadn't heard it on a regular basis. And he just went bonkers. And it was like, wow. And so we then went on an unbeaten run, which I think the current team just beat the other week. I don't know if it was 20 games or something or whatever. And we ended up winning. We ended up winning the league on the last day of the season. Now that is fab. I can absolutely tell you that is brilliant when that happens. So the last game of the season, Tottenham at home. I think Forest were at Ipswich. Ipswich were second. If we lost and Ipswich won at home against Forest, we'd obviously come second. But we managed to win, although Glenn Hoddle scored a wonder goal in the first half. Honestly, an absolute worldie.
Do you know what? I'm so glad you mentioned that randomly. BT Sport did a documentary on Glenn Hoddle.
Did he show the goal?
I don't know if they showed that goal.
I think they did, because I think I might have seen some of it.
Okay. They must have shown... Don't want to over-egg this now.
Yeah.
But they must have... This was Glenn Hoddle reflecting on his heart attack and almost dying.
Sure, yeah.
Going back to Monaco and visiting Spurs, and he was hanging out with Ozzy Ardiles. That was kind of the thrust of the documentary. They must have shown 20 goals that I hadn't seen before of Hoddle's that were jaw-dropping. I mean, jaw-dropping. Yeah.
Well, he was genuinely against us. He never really performed because a certain Mr. Souness would be in the vicinity. And there, Graham Roberts, who obviously tried to wade in at times, and of all people, Kenny sorted him out a few times.
Right.
But that day, I was playing in midfield alongside Graham, and he just got the ball I don't know, it felt like about 30 yards out at least. And he just looked and he hit this thing, and it was like, wow, I was stood right behind it. I almost wanted to say, oh, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But obviously because of the course of the game and everything, it didn't quite work that way. It was just a sensational goal. But we ended up winning 3-1, Joe, and I'm so glad I mentioned it now, because I scored the equaliser and made the second goal, but apart from that, didn't do very much.
I presume, would Glenn Hoddle have been much more appreciated in this era and had a better career, do you think? Yeah. He
would have been a real superstar. We had this thing with him at Liverpool where, and it was with Tottenham, that generally like this, the north of Watford and the crumples. You put them under pressure, and a few tackles went in, etc. at Anfield, and they crumpled.
Yeah.
And they regularly did. To be honest, I mean, they could be real. I think they were called Fancy Dans at home. I think it was one of the nicknames for them. And they had some good players, but he was a top player. I remember him telling me that when he went to Monaco, and they lived in a hotel, didn't he, like most players? But apparently, in the hotel, it also had like a boutique. It had all kinds of shops and everything. and they just signed for everything, and they never paid a penny.
Right.
Like his wife would go in the shop and buy a new dress. When I say buy, well, obviously not. And they just signed for it. And then Glenn said after a while, we realised that the Prince, Rainier, he copped the bill for them. And happy days, that must have been.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Well, do you know, in the documentary, man, he flourished in Monaco. Played some unbelievable football and is like still a legend there and beloved there. And, you know, that style of football suited him more. Anyway,
Sure.
that's a hell of a tangent. So, Mo Salah was looking
paying the money.
incredibly stylish in his GQ photo shoot there. And, so what he said was, I'm not looking for anything outlandish. It's with the club. I want to stay. But there was a sternness to Salah. He was saying, it's up to them. It's up to the administration.
Yeah.
I've seen reports of 300 grand a week. He's apparently on 200k a week at the moment. I've also seen today up to 480 grand a week reported. So I don't know what his idea of outlandish is. Turning 30... There's a treat, like Liverpool can afford to pay him if they wanted 400 or 450 grand a week. They can afford to, but it's the knock-on effect, and that's what they're weighing up at the moment. What's your read on the situation?
Yeah, they don't want to set a precedent, do they? And what do you say? He's 30 now, is he?
Turning 30 this year.
Yeah, which actually, 30, 15 years ago, you go, ooh, he's 30. That's a little bit of a worry. But as we know now, players are so much fitter and they're so much better, in their early 30s, probably even up to 35 at times. The way that they're looked after and fitness regimes and diets and kind of stuff like that. But I think you just got to be very, very careful because Marnie's contract must be up soon, is it not? Mane's?
I'll have a look.
I think so. The club obviously has limits. It's building the new stand, obviously, as well, which is going to cost them, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 million, whatever it's going to be. So they've got to be careful. But I think, and I mean, this is kind of, I've never heard this as in, in writing or anything, but always around the club, it's been, well, you know what, the Chinese would buy this lot for $1 billion. But saying they buy it for $1 billion and doing it, and then would you want to sell to the Chinese anyway? It's completely different. But you got to be very, very, very careful. I think they're just weighing absolutely everything up. I mean, what if you gave him 450 grand a week, and then he gets injured for 6 months or something? Although, of course, he's not really ever been injured since he's been there. But you know what Lady Luck can be like sometimes, can't you?
Mane, by the way, will come to an end of a 5-year deal next season. And he's on a paltry 100 grand a week, so he's going to want some more as well.
Pauper. He's a pauper.
Yeah. I still think they can't let him go though, can they, Salah? They can't watch him tear it up for the next 4 or 5 years somewhere else. No,
they can't. I just wonder sometimes if they think who would take him. But you can't run that risk because the likes of the Barca and Real Madrid. They're still in a mess. Whatever they're saying and doing, they're absolutely still in a mess. So, Paris Saint-Germain.
Oh, you just hope, even for his sake, surely someone would say, don't go there. It's a basket case.
Well, and the other thing is, and it's easy for me to say this sat in my armchair, but, how much money do you want?
450 grand a week. No, I take your point. I take your point. Yeah, I do take your point.
Yeah, and I always remember quite a few years ago, David Pleat said to me he's like one of the deep thinkers in the game. David Pleat always has been, and he rings you up all the time asking about games you've been to and players and all that. He's not really involved anyway. He just loves football, but he always used to say to me, he said, you can only wear one suit at a time. How many meals you want in a day, and how many cars can you drive? But obviously it's changed somewhat.
Yeah. And it must be galling if he's been called the best player in the world, or certainly the best in the league, and he knows what everybody else is getting. And Liverpool are doing very well.
Yeah, that would make you peeved, wouldn't it? But I'm sure they'll come to some compromise. I can't believe that they wouldn't. I think it would be a big mistake if they didn't sign him. Yeah,
and Klopp wouldn't be happy. You mentioned you don't think Liverpool or Chelsea are going to do any great deals in January. Do you think if Klopp at the moment, when he looks at Liverpool, does he need 2 or 3 or 4 squad players, Or if it's an either or kind of a case here, does he need 2 or 3 or 4 squad players, or does he need somebody of a superstar stature to go in somewhere in the starting 11? When you look at that starting 11, is there a vacancy?
I think the latter.
Oh yeah, where about midfield?
Yeah, sort of. I hate to say it, number 10, but everyone says number 10. But yeah, that sort of position, very attack-minded anyway. Definitely. Because, obviously the kids are coming through, aren't they? And stuff, and I think it looks like, they're going to be, well, they're good players anyway, but it looks like they're all going to kind of train on, as it were. And he can shift his midfield about now, can't he? He's got quite a lot of players. I just wish Thiago was 5 years younger, because he's been brilliant this season. I just love watching him play. I find him amazing because he's just got this radar, and he can't really run, and his socks are down, and it's old-fashioned, and he just knows where everybody in his team is on the pitch. It's just fabulous to watch. But they've now got plenty of players in midfield, I feel.
Have you seen much of Manchester United under Ralph Rangnick?
No, I haven't. Only snippets, really, to be honest with you. I thought he'd come in and straight away there would be a big difference. So I don't really know what's gone on there, whether it's going to take him time to affect the changes to the way they play. And I hated that the story that came out last week. Half the squad don't like him. They think he's this, they think he's that. Joe, you know what that is, don't you? That's half the squad who aren't playing, which always happens in football clubs. That's how all the stories get out. The stories don't get out from the players who are playing really, really well and are idolised. It's from the ones who are in and out of the team, etc., and feel hard done by. That's always the case. But I mean, how long's it been there? 6 weeks?
Yeah, but it's been really bad though.
Is what?
It's been really bad.
Oh, it has been
genuinely
really bad.
Terrible. Yeah.
But I think that's just showing you how deep seated that it is, and it may well be that he might let some of the superstars, so-called superstars, he might let some of them go. Just because to get a team that he wants, and he wants to play this pressing way. And I don't know. I think you look at Manchester United, and it's kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters without the success, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is the players are looking at him saying, well, you don't really have the power to let me go. I mean, you're out of here in a few months anyway. Buddy.
Yeah, well, I don't... Yeah, well, yeah, possibly. So that's the Pochettino thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he possibly is, but we'll see. I still think they'll finish fourth, mind.
Well, they have the talent, I guess, to go on a run. Marcus Rashford's been talked about all week, so he was genuinely eye-catchingly disconsolate almost against Aston Villa. Body language was terrible. He was playing very badly. He hasn't scored in 11 games.
He hasn't, but you know what? He hasn't kicked on, Joe. He was a better player when he first came into the team. And I mean, it was unbelievable because he came from nowhere, didn't he? He was literally just one of the kids when I think it was Van Gaal, wasn't it?
Yeah, Van Gaal saw something in him and brought him through brilliantly.
Well, yeah, that's his story. The other story I heard was they were basically down to bare bones.
Fair enough.
And said, well, take this lad, and he'll we'll make up the numbers almost, but just take him and have a look at him. He's got something, but we haven't really seen what. And then obviously he's kicked on. And I mean, the easy thing to say is everything, all this work he's done off the field and everything has been brilliant. And then sometimes you're thinking, well, has that kind of taken over a little bit? And has he lost some of his hunger? Because you wouldn't want to play against him. If a fit and hungry player of his ability, you wouldn't want to play against him. But it all looks a little bit like, oh, well, I'm not in the team. I'll probably get in next week. Come on a sub. But they're all a bit like that, are they not?
Yeah, a little bit. With Rashford, I mean, he put out a statement. Again, we'll roll our eyes after our previous conversation, but he put out a statement which wasn't bland, and he was just saying there's lots of rumours about me and my attitude, and trust me, I'm not happy with how I'm playing, and I'm going to put this right. Words to that effect. And it was actually a pretty good statement. Do you know, here's a clip for you. This is it goes against what we're saying about Mo Salah being over 30, but just one of the lads, when we were putting the show together earlier on this afternoon, they remembered, this is random, right? But who knows? They remembered Sam Allardyce with Alan Brazil on TalkSport a couple of years ago, and look, it's very fashionable to roll eyes at Sam Allardyce, but I suspect he has a good feel for the game. This is what he said quite a number of years ago, and this is when Rashford was new on the scene and playing great, and everybody thought this guy is the future for the next 10 years. And here's what Allardyce had to say, and just keep in mind Rashford's, I suppose, is people are saying it's his work rate, but I do wonder if it's his body at the moment. Here's Allardyce.
Is he going to make past 27?
No, probably very difficult to get to 30 because of the demand physically and mentally and the fatigue that he will suffer. He'll have 3 weeks a year off. That's it. And he'll play all over the world because there's no pre-season anymore. They go playing straight away across these tournaments.
Yeah.
He'll play for his country in the summer, and he'll get barely 3 weeks off. And I think when you look at it, the wear and tear that is by 25, he will have niggles. Even if he doesn't get any major injuries, the knees and the ankles, the hips, the backs will start being a little bit of a problem as he goes on. Not stopping playing, but I think later on in life it would bring his career to an end quicker than maybe before. But if you look at the Premier League now, Alan, I think there's less players over 30 playing now than ever.
Now, that last point we checked isn't quite true about the players over 30. It's held pretty steady. But so he was saying that, that was his worry for Rashford, and Rashford hit 25. He's currently 24. Who knows? Like, that's the thing. Who knows what's going on? It could be, as you said, the commitments off the field. It could be something else in his personal life. Or it could be a young body just, which has been, too much has been asked of it over the last number of years.
No, when you look at him, he is quite statuesque, isn't he? You don't look at him and think he's just like a bag of bones.
He looks super strong. Now, he had the shoulder surgery after the Euros, and actually that gave him a good break. He didn't play till October. So
but the shoulder injury it doesn't stop you in terms of your finesse and your fitness and your running and all that kind of stuff.
Well, he said it did last year, and that's why he had to have the surgery.
The only thing I would say, I'm not. Do you know what surgery he had? Because if it was for dislocation, that does affect you, because I had that right at the end.
Right.
And even though you have an operation, it's called putty plat, where they oversew a muscle, so your actual muscle doesn't come out anymore, but it is loose. And sometimes if you fell over, it felt like it came out, but it didn't. So what I'm trying to say was, you always knew it was there. It was a constant. So whether it's that might be something to do with it, but. I'm not. I understand what Big Sam says, but I'm not sure that's going to be the way that it is. And he doesn't start regularly, does he?
No, it doesn't quite tally. It was just an interesting comment, and it jogged our memory. But it was an interesting, because he wasn't talking about himself, Sam, was he? It's just hard to work it out with Rashford, because you do get the impression he's so invested in Manchester United, local boy, loves the club, and yet it looks like he has an attitude problem on the pitch, but that doesn't tally with everything else about him. That's why it makes you wonder if physically he just doesn't feel himself, or if something's going on. Well, and I wonder, I'll throw one in, which is, does he know his best, or does anybody know his best position? Well, is it coming in off the left side? No? Yeah, but maybe he looks at Ronaldo and thinks, well, all right, you're a goal scorer, and outstanding goal scorer. This is Rashford thinking that I'm thinking about him. You think, well, I can play straight down the middle. I'm younger, I'm faster, I'm fitter, and all those kind of things. You just don't know, do you? And maybe is it a case of that? When he leaves Old Trafford in terms of the training ground, is he doing stuff all day? Yeah, when he could just be, resting, like most footballers, he'd be lying on the backsides watching Netflix after they pick the kids up and all that kind of stuff. So, you just don't know. I mean, he looks. I don't think he's a drinker, because the stories would be out. Obviously, he doesn't. He's obviously got a great diet, because look at his body and everything. Maybe he's just, I don't know. Yeah, it's one of many things, isn't it? Yeah, it's one of many. I mean, it's speculation. He does look in great shape. Do you think, as a last one, Ronaldo arriving at the club? So on the one hand, people said, well, Ronaldo's going to arrive. All the young players are going to see how hard he trains, his diet, the professionalism's off the charts. They're going to see how hard a great player works. It's going to be amazing. And yet, Too often I've looked at Ronaldo this season and he's got his hands on his hips, he's giving out to teammates, he's storming down tunnels or sulking off a pitch if he gets substituted. He doesn't press, and so you wonder how good an example he has been for those around him. Difficult to know when we're not on the inside, but who knows what the Ronaldo effect has been as well, because he is going to influence those around him.
Well, here's one. Has Fernandes been the same player since Ronaldo arrived?
No, like that.
No.
And I've never felt more sorry for a player taking a penalty than the time Bruno Fernandes missed that one with Ronaldo behind him and straight away, right, you're off penos now. I mean, that's outrageous. Talk about trying to undercut you're undercut your best player.
Yeah, I know.
So
I know, and I wonder whether there's, even though obviously both boys played for Portugal, there's a bit of a frisson there between those two. But you just look at, I mean, you know, Harry Maguire, not the quickest, but generally, you know, a really good, solid centre-back, and he looks all over the place. And Varane, I mean, I did say at the time when Varane signed that, you know, he missed quite a lot of games at Real Madrid. And I think he's one of those that he doesn't get really serious injuries, but he gets injuries where he's out for like 6 or 8 weeks, and then he's got to get fit for another 6 or 8 weeks to come back.
Yeah.
And those kind of things. And I don't know, maybe they've just lost their hunger a little bit.
Yeah, there's something up anyway.
Yeah.
Antonio Conte, by the way, last point. So Daniel Levy was on holidays in the Bahamas. He got back. He was hanging out with Joe Lewis over there, the Spurs owner, and apparently he met Conte on Monday with their football director, Fabio Paratici. And what Conte had done was an assessment of the squad, and here's what our need list. And this is... welcome back to work, Daniel. And this is David Heitner in The Guardian. So what Conte wants is centre half, central midfielder, a right-sided player, and it seems Adama Traore's caught his eye a little bit.
Surely not.
Yeah, apparently these are the reports, and
really?
And a backup striker as well. So that's what, 4 players. Let's call it 50 million a player. Is Daniel Levy going to hand over the guts of 200 million? I wonder. And if he doesn't, I'm not sure Antonio will take it too well.
Oh well, no. Antonio will walk out the door one if he wants. He ain't bothered. And by the way, have you got the match on there?
Yeah.
What's happening?
It's still 1-0 Chelsea.
No, but they've been off for ages. Nothing's happened. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And it keeps showing behind the goal. So wonder if there's been a medical problem or if
I don't know
something.
Yeah, you're right. Because every time I've glanced up, it's just shown players, you know, close-ups of players. But now I do see what you mean. Play has been stopped. So it's been stopped for a while, has it? Yeah,
and there's all sorts of stewards round. And it's not like it's not kicking off as in there's a fighting in the stand or anything. So I just wonder if there might be a medical problem. So anyway, hopefully that's...
hopefully not.
No, hopefully not.
We'll get one of the guys to check outside.
Right, you know Joe Lewis,
the owner of Spurs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So did you know that his daughter lived with Craig Johnson?
Okay.
I'm going to tell you a story here. Have we got time?
Is this one of these stories that's going to get everyone in trouble?
No.
Okay, go on then.
No, absolutely not. No, not at all.
Okay.
No, in fact, it's a good story.
Right.
But basically, so I think her name's Rebecca, and Joe's daughter, and she runs 2 golfing hotels in Florida. One of them is called Windermere, near where Tiger lives and all that kind of stuff, and whatever. Anyway, one thing or another. But Craig got skin cancer probably 4 or 5 years ago, and he had to have a laser surgery. And what happened was they made a mask for him, Joe, right? So when he went for laser surgery, so basically the laser could only hit a certain spot, obviously, which was the troublesome spot. Yeah. So fine.
Yeah.
But they said to him, look, you know, you'll be under this laser for about 2 to 3 minutes. But they said, you do not move. Whatever you do, you do not move. You know, just like sort of close your eyes and think of something. Before you know it, you'll be out of it. Anyway, so had a dose of laser surgery, and they went to they put this cap on and everything, and made sure that the rest of his face was all covered and everything. And they took this off. When they took it off, he'd been sick. He'd been sick, and they said to him, "Why on earth didn't you tell us?" And he went, "Well, hold on a minute. You just said whatever you do, don't move." Anyway, so it's a bit of a longer story, but so Joe Joe Louis said to him, right, he says, you're gonna go away to my ranch,
Right.
to Craig with Rebecca. He says, okay. So he said, right, and it's in Argentina. So anyway, Craig was telling me the story, and I said, all right. I said, was it any good, the ranch? And he said, well, the first thing was, he said, Joe just said, right, take the private plane, take me plane and everything. He said, off you go and have 6 weeks there and just completely relax and everything. So I said, all right. So, and the ranch, he went 22 by 12. I said, what are you on about? He said, 22 miles by 12 miles was the size of the ranch. Fabulous, isn't it?
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Nice. Very generous as well. That's a nice touch.
Well, the other thing is as well is that Joe Lewis's last, I was going to say boat, but he doesn't have boats yet. They're like ships. Mm-hmm. But the main thing he wanted on it, a paddle tennis court, because he said, with all the money I've got, he said, I don't want to keep having to pull into ports all the way around Europe or around the world looking for a paddle tennis court. I want one on here, and he obviously got one.
Have you played paddle tennis, by the way?
I can't anymore, but my better half, by the way, she's a really good paddle tennis player. Have you seen it? Have you played it?
It is so good.
I tell you, it's going to be a big new thing, this.
It's going to be huge. It's so
absolutely
good. Yeah. Played it on holidays this year, and it's the business.
And do you get fit? Wow, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. Listen, we're out of time. We didn't really get into who Spurs are going to sign, but I think it was a better detour.
Well, listen, I would say to you, the answer is they won't get the 4 that Conte wants.
No, I wouldn't think so.
They might get number 2 or 3 behind them in the queue, maybe.
Yeah. Mark Lawrenson, always a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Cheers, Joe.
Cheers. Thanks very much. Mark Lawrenson there with us on the line. I'll update you on the football. They are back underway, by the way, between Spurs and Chelsea. 8 minutes of added time. They've played 4 extra, so hopefully it wasn't too serious. And it's still Chelsea 1-0 up on the night. West Ham scored a second against Norwich, so 2-0 West Ham against Norwich. That's a full-time result. And in the Super Cup, Real Madrid 3, Barcelona 2 after extra time is a result. They're still playing in the Italian Super Cup, 1-0 between Inter and Juve.